Hey, East Texas. Welcome to another week of the ETFinalScore.com preview show. I'm Trevor Pill. With me today, as usual, is Chris Perry and Travis Yosting. There are only 2 weeks left in Texas high school football until we hit the playoffs. A lot of teams looking to make a final push so their season isn't cut short. I'm going to start with you, Chris. Earlier this week, I saw you posted a story about the Red Raiders. They weren't too happy about their win this past Thursday.
Made too many mistakes. They had too many penalties. 42-7. You'd assume that they'd be very happy walking off the field, but it was kind of a sloppy affair. They got some big plays, and that's why they were able to score some touchdowns. But if you're going to have a bad game, that's the team to do it against. I mean, they're winless. They're kind of trying to find themselves. You can't afford to have any mistakes, any penalties, anything this week against Rockwall.
How did Coach Piskey feel about that game Thursday?
I think he was happy with the win, but unhappy with the way they played. And basically, you kind of throw that one away and trying to get back and get back to what they were doing against John Tyler, against Garland Saxe, against Lakeview Centennial, and to a point against Garland, because they're going to need it all to beat the Rockwall Yellow Jackets this week.
That's something to look out for. And now, Travis, over at John Tyler, their offense was clicking. Their run defense was phenomenal against the Corsicana run-happy offense. Tell us a little bit about JT's offense and defense.
It all started with their defense last week against Corsicana. They stopped a team that had run for over 350 yards the week before against White House and held them to 63 rushing yards, which, any way you look at it, that's a good number. Offensively, they started going. They started a little bit sluggishly, but once they got going, they weren't going to be stopped.
What did you think about that JT Corsicana game?
I think John Tyler did what they were supposed to do. This is a game that they needed to win to stay where they want to be in district, and I think they're just going to kind of just take care of business from this point on. The problem is that it's going to come down to the tiebreaker for they probably won't win the district title. It'll come down to a tiebreaker between them and Ennis, but they're still going to have the number 1 seed going into the playoffs in their division.
Yeah, and both of them will have a little more about both teams a little later on. Now, Grace, Brook Hill, and All Saints won their game this past week. TK Gorman did lose again, like you said. You figured they were going to lose their second straight. How do you think this TAPS division that it's bunching up is going to unfold?
I think basically it's going to come down to Brook Hill and Grace, and to a point Dallas Christian. We could have a 3-way tie, and then it comes down to points. Then it comes down to points. It's Grace because Grace took care of business big time against Brook Hill, and I think it was a close game against Dallas Christian, right?
14-point game against Dallas Christian.
Okay, so it'll kind of even itself out. Brook Hill's in trouble. They've lost one of their best weapons on their offensive side, on the offensive side of the football, and Seth Brasher, their receiver, who hurt his knee and he's out for the rest of the season. That's really going to be a big ask now for the rest of the team to step up. So I think Brook Hill, that right there, Travis and I were talking, I think that may actually kind of knock Brook Hill down a little bit in the running for the district race.
What do you think about that?
I think the way it's set up, it looks like it might be another 3-way tie, just like it was 3 years ago. That year, Grace actually took the top seed in the playoffs. It's going to be down to the final 2 games, obviously, and it could come down to that Grace Gorman game down at the end of the year. Should be exciting.
Well, speaking of TAPS, let's just roll right into them. Now, all 4 teams are taking that long ride to Dallas this week. They're all going to play away. First game, again, you can just talk a little bit about the team, who you think is going to win. TK Gorman at Frisco Legacy.
I think TK Gorman has taken its lumps the last couple of weeks, and I think the Crusaders get it turned around and they get back on the winning track.
Okay.
Yeah, Gorman was so close to beating Dallas Christian last week. They're going to be eager to bounce back in a good way. And even though Frisco Legacy hasn't won in district, they're still a tough opponent, but I think Crusaders pull it out.
Again, the Crusaders are on a 2-game losing streak. All Saints versus Dallas Christian.
It's going to be tough for All Saints. They've got finally got off of their losing streak, but going up against a Dallas Christian team that is going to be motivated to win out and get that at least a share of a district title, it's going to be tough for them on the road.
I just think All Saints at this point in their program, they're outmanned by the likes of Brook Hill, Grace, Gorman to an extent, and definitely Dallas Christian. And I think I think they're going to stay with Dallas Christian, at least early on. But I think as the game rolls along, I think Dallas Christian's size and their power is going to win out, and they'll probably end up winning by a couple touchdowns.
Now, even though it's a weakened Brook Hill team without Seth Brasher, they're playing Carrollton Prince of Peace, who also is a weak team. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that they're playing the perfect team this first week without their star wide receiver. I think they're going to handle Prince of Peace rather easily.
Yeah, I think Brook Hill has enough weapons. They can get past Prince of Peace. As long as their defense stays strong, I think they can get past Prince Peace.
And now we have Grace Community Cougars who are on a 3-game winning streak. Everything seems to be clicking for them. Their running back, Zach Tapman, Johnny Spitzer at wide receiver, and then they've also got a 2 quarterback system they're kind of throwing in there. What do you think Grace Community Cougars are going to do against Dallas Shelton?
I think they're going to put up a lot of points again. They've won their last 3 games by at least 30 points each time out, and I expect more of the same. I think you're going to see a couple different quarterbacks, a bunch of different players getting in the game against Dallas Shelton.
In 6-man football, I have this rule called you 45 somebody. This would easily be a 45 game if there was a 45-point rule. I don't see this being close at all. I think Grace knows what it has to do, and they're going to go and accomplish it quickly, and then like Travis said, get their reserves in, or get some of these other guys in to get some more playing experience for down the stretch.
That's something to look out for. Again, all 4 TAP schools are taking that long ride to Dallas this week, all playing away. Something to be on the lookout for. Let's take a quick break. When we return, we're going to break down some more area football.
At Kelly Community Federal Credit Union, we have a monopoly on savings. So cruise on over to a Kelly Community branch today for big savings on loan rates and better earnings on deposits and investments.
At Kelly Community.
Welcome back to the ETFinalScore.com preview show. I'm Trevor Pill, Travis Yosting, Chris Perry. Well, let's talk a little bit about area football that's going to go on this week. Let's start with you, Travis. John Tyler traveling to Jacksonville this week. Fans haven't got to see much of the Jacksonville Indians so far, but against that Nacogdoches game is the only one that we had video from. But Jacksonville isn't looking too tough. What do you think between Jacksonville and JT?
Well, I think Jacksonville might have posed a little bit of a problem to JT until they lost their quarterback, Carter McCown, going down to a season-ending injury. That's a big blow, tough blow for them. They were looking at trying to force their way into the playoffs, but losing your quarterback like that, it was 14-14 against White House before McCown went down, and they just couldn't hold on. And I think, given that injury, I think it's going to be tough for Jacksonville to keep up with JT.
Now, even though it's going to be tough for Jacksonville, this is a game for the John Tyler Lions to really just keep working on offense and defense, just to keep clicking with only 2 weeks left into the regular season.
Yeah, definitely. They want to keep that offense going. They want to get Jeremy Wilson involved again. You may see some more Bryson Smith at quarterback like we did last week. Giovanni McCollister's a little banged up. They don't really want to risk him. If they got a decent lead, they're going to just throw in the sophomore who's been great so far when he's been called upon.
What do you think about that JT Jacksonville game?
It's kind of like an NFL game late in the season whenever you've already clinched a playoff spot and you can bring in your backups and things like that. And it is a shame because I think as neutrals we would have loved to seen Jacksonville with McCown really give John Tyler their full try. But it's a backup quarterback. He was shaky last week, and rightly so. He'd never played. I just think John Tyler's going to have way too much for this. I think it'll be over by halftime, and then it just depends on how many reserves and backup quarterbacks and players to get into the second half for this ball game.
Well, on AT Final Score, we will have live highlights coming from the game in Jacksonville. Now, Chris, the Red Raiders are playing an undefeated Rockwall team. Now, besides looking great with that Rockwall team, what can you tell us about them?
They're very good on offense, very good on defense. I mean, I know that's cliche, but they're amazing on offense. Their running back, Chris Warren, is just fantastic. Hits holes. If you miss a tackle, he's gone. They've got probably one of the most dynamic receivers in the state in Xavier Castillo, and he's one of those guys that they'll just throw a little 2-yard pass out to him and he'll turn that into a touchdown. So okay, well now you move up and you try to keep him short. Well then he just goes by you for a touchdown. So this is a big ask by the Red Raiders. I think because it's at home. And it's such a big game, and it's tough to win them all. Rockwall being undefeated, I would give Robert E. Lee a shot. I've actually kind of gone back and forth during this broadcast, wondering if I was going to pick Robert E. Lee. You'll have to wait for my pick. But Rockwall presents a serious challenge for the Red Raiders, and they've got to win this game if they want to control their own destiny for the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to hit on, that they do control their own destiny to get to the playoffs and to win out. What are the things that Robert E. Lee needs to capitalize on to try to ensure a W?
They have to win. I mean, they have to score in every possession, and they just have to. This team is putting up 70 points a game in district play. They have to score every time they get the ball.
What do you think about this game?
I think, like Chris says, they need to score every time they get the ball and force a few turnovers. If they can do that, Lee has shown that they can score against anyone. So if they can get some turnovers and get some things going their way and make the other team play catch up the whole time, I think they have a shot.
Again, like Chris said, Robert E. Lee controls their own destiny, needs to win out. We will have live highlights from this game as well on Friday on ET Final Score that you'll be able to check out. Now let's head over to our picket line, and of course you can always catch both these guys' picket line for high school, college, and the pros in the paper. But this one we do for our show. Both of you 12-3 overall. The only one that you had lost last week was that Lufkin Ennis game. Chris went 5-0 to catch up to Travis. Now again, 5 games, 5 picks. Just throw it out there. Tell me who wins. We have Lufkin at Corsicana.
Go with Lufkin.
Lufkin bounces back.
Chapel Hill at Henderson.
Chapel Hill.
Chapel Hill.
Big Sandy Hawkins.
Big Sandy.
I'm going to go with Hawkins.
Okay, and then you got Mineola at Sabine.
Sabine was supposed to be the surprise team this year, and they have been good. I just believe that Mineola has kind of surprised everybody. I think Mineola wins this football game.
Yeah, I think Mineola.
And then, of course, one of the bigger games is Rockwall at Tyler Lee.
I'm going to go with Rockwall.
God, I just keep going back and forth. It's Halloween. It's an undefeated team. It's not the first time an undefeated team is coming to Robert E. Lee with a chance. I'm going to pick the Red Raiders. I'm going to pick Robert E. Lee to pull off a massive upset.
Well, the last time that you picked them to pick the upset was against JT, and it did happen. So maybe you'll be able to check in with us next week to see if Chris' Red Raiders do pull off that win, or if Travis takes this one. Again, thanks, guys. Thanks for your picks. Thanks for joining me today. That's going to wrap up the ETFinalScore.com preview show. Thanks for letting us break down some of the action that will be taking place this week. Be on the watch for highlights on our Facebook and Twitter. Just search ET Final Score, and you will be able to see big plays, defensive stops, and of course scores. Remember, only 2 weeks left in the regular season. You don't want to miss a thing. As for Chris, Travis, and I, we'll see you next time. Enjoy your football, East Texas.